I think I'm live. Let's see. Let me just make sure everything's going. I think it is. Let me just look at this. See how the delay is. Alright, great. So I'm looking at the TMEA trumpet music. I think my volume looks fine. I'm just going to talk a little bit about, let me see, make sure everything's going. There it goes. Go away. Alright. Make sure the sound's on. So this is the second etude. I'm just going to kind of go through it and talk about how I would practice this thing. Now this is the ballad. It's not quite as difficult as the other pieces, I think. So the first thing you have to understand is the tempo. If this is getting through, I think you can hear that. I can hear it. There we go. Alright, so at this tempo, if you look up here at the top, larghetto, the eighth note is 76. So when you count through here, this quarter note that you see up here is going to be 2 eighth notes long. So here we are going 76 beats per minute. Da, 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 da. That dotted quarter note is going to have 3 eighth notes in it. You're going to have to hold it 3 counts. But what I'm going to talk about mostly, I'm going to talk to hopefully the little bit more advanced students on some technical things that I would advise that you practice when you're going through here. Plus, I get to see how this sound works on my microphone here. I can check the sound quality. So don't feel like I'm just using you, but you know. So this next part that comes up, I'm just going to go straight into how I would practice it. It's an octave jump from A to A. So if you're having trouble with that octave jump, and a lot of my students are, I'll give you the same advice that I give them. Practice octaves, right? And start on a comfortable octave. Right? Try to do it as relaxed as you can. And then go up a half step. And then try to play it in tempo. Go up a half step. Since it's slurred, you want to try to make it as smooth as you possibly can. Get used to the feeling of the lips grabbing the airstream. Try to lead with your airstream. Let the lips grab the airstream. Now I know I went up to A. Usually, for something like this, I'll go a little bit higher, just to really make sure I have the motion down. Because if you can do it on a B flat, you can play it on an A, right? So now my B is giving me trouble. Which is what practicing's for. So then you go back and you try to do it in the context of the song. I'm a big believer in making exercises out of the song that you're working on, right? So here, you have an octave jump. Give yourself octaves to work on. Give yourself an exercise that'll make you better at the song. So this is another section that some people struggle with, and I'm going to turn the metronome down. Well, how do I want to do this? I was taught by a trumpet professor I had in college, taught me these practice rhythms. So you go through, hang on, I got to get a drink of water. So you go through notes like this, which for some people, I have some students having trouble with this. So I'll use this as an example. The E to the D sharp, this whole passage, he would have me break it up into different practice rhythms, is what he called them. So we would start with pairing the first two notes, the next set of two notes, the next set of two notes, the next set, and the next set, just until you finish off that section of music. And you can carry through with the articulations just like they're written, but you would play it. Let me go back to my metronome. You would play it slower. Let me go a little slower here. Da-da, da-da. Let me show you what I mean. See how I changed the rhythm? What you're doing is you're pairing these two notes together and going back and forth. You're playing them very rapidly, so you're giving your brain time to think about just a couple notes at a time. You're learning it in chunks, but you're learning from here to here, for example, very, very quickly. You're learning from the E to the F very, very quickly. And so when you go back, instead of going from here to here, I'm going to start the pairing from the D sharp to the E to sort of fill in the gaps, right? And maybe I'll run through it a couple times like that. And then after I do the pairings, I'll do three notes together. Know what I mean? So the first three notes, the E, the D sharp, and the E. And try them doing quickly. Now, if that's too fast and I'm screwing up, I'll go a little slower. I'll speed up just a little bit. So after I do the first three, then the next set of three, and so on, I'll start on the second note, and I'll do these three, and I connect the next set of three. Know what I mean? And then, starting on the third note, I'll do the next set of three. And then, after I do three, I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 notes, trying to play it quickly all together. Right? And then I start on the second note, and I put 4 notes together. And I go to the third one. So if I put, here. And then I'll go to the fourth one finally. That's the F, and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll play those notes really, really fast together. There we go. Again, the point here is to take this in small chunks to learn the whole thing. So then I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes and put every 5 notes together. There we go. And as you get more and more notes together, if you want to slow it down a little bit, that's fine. This passage isn't even super fast. So if you got to take it slower than that, that's fine. Starting on the second note, it would be the D sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, to the E, 5 notes. And you can put even more space between like this. And then I'll do 6 notes. That would be from here to here. I'll do 6 notes starting on the second note. And then 7 notes. After a time, if I do 7 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that gets to be almost the majority of the notes in the passage. So you can go kind of as far as you feel like you need to. If I go back to tempo, my fingers are very sure about where I am. My lips are all over the place. So anytime you have something where the fingerings might be tricky, that's a good exercise to do. What else we have? A lot of people are having trouble with the trills. So for the trill, the way a lot of teachers will break it down, they're going to tell you first take out the trill, take out the grace note, and just get used to the way that sounds without. So let me do that a couple times. Right? So you get the idea of it. I wouldn't practice that too long. I would very quickly move on to trills and grace notes, put those in as fast as you can, because I don't want you to develop a habit of not playing with trills and not playing with grace notes and just skipping and avoiding them. You know what I mean? So let's first put the grace note back in. For the grace note, now I have a feeling. Now if somebody out there is watching, correct me if I'm wrong, and looks like there's somebody else watching. So help me out. In the TMEA errata, where they're fixing all the errors, is this actually slurred? I think I remember it being slurred, but I can't remember for sure. I'm playing it like that, so I'm guessing it is. Let me see. I might have another copy. They wrote this music, but it's not always written perfectly. Let me see. Just a second. Here we go. I have the errata here, just to be sure. Trilled F sharp, first 3 beats, including trill. So measure 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. First 3 beats, including trill and grace notes, should be slurred. Okay. So just so you don't think I'm doing anything weird, this is all slurred. So for the grace notes, right? So doing it in tempo, before the second beat, before the second eighth note here, you're going to, again, this is before the second beat, you have to play these grace notes. Right? So just do that first, work in the grace notes, and you can work in the trill separately. That's fine. Here's the trill. that's the trill without the grace note. Now, if you're having trouble with the trill, exercise it as if you were doing a long tone. Take a deep breath, sigh out through the horn. Get the best sound you can make, all right? That's a trill. So now, the tricky part, the thing people seem to have difficulty with, is playing quickly, playing a trill, and then moving on into the grace note, right? And that can be remedied in a couple ways. First, just play the trill one time. So, like one pulsation of a trill. It's much easier, just one trill. And just practice that several times, right? Because before you go on to the grace note, you're going to come back to D anyway. You're not going to trill up to an E. And by the way, this is a D to E trill, if that wasn't clear to anybody. You're going to move on to the grace notes from the D. You're not going to move on from the E. It's not... You're not going to then slur down to the C. That would be a mess. So practicing this in pulsations, let's say, is going to bring you back to the principal note, the D, before you move on to the grace notes. And that's just fine. That's what you want. Let's see. Then you can try doing 2 pulsations. That was just one. Right? And really pay attention to the metronome. You want to get to where you can do this pretty automatically so you can still keep good time. And then you try to do 3 pulsations. I think I went for 4, and then I was a little bit late. So to get your fingers, what that looks like is you're going to hit the D 1, 2, 3, 4 times before you go on. And that's just about what you want anyway. The other way you can practice it is just hold the trill out for several counts and then put the grace note in there. So play the trill, hold it out until you feel comfortable with it, and then play the grace notes like this. Right? And try to land the next note on some beat. Doesn't matter what beat it is. On some beat. Land it on the beat. Right? Does that make sense? And then hopefully by doing these exercises, it gives you the coordination to make this happen. So now that we came to one of the breath marks, let me talk about that briefly. Like I said, if you guys have questions, feel free to jump in here. Must be a pretty quiet night. I mean, I know it's Friday night. And some of you probably have better things to do than watch me talk about how to play one of the etudes on a Friday night. But it's 10 o'clock. I mean, come on. Looks like I got a few. So after the trill, I want to say something about the breath mark. For a lot of you guys, this might not seem quite as important or technical as some of the other parts of the song that we're going to get to. But this breath mark is serious. So you're going to put a pause here, but you have to put it's got to be a good pause. Maybe that sounds silly. If I go back to this first breath mark up here. What you don't want to do is cut the note off abruptly and then breathe. Obviously, you don't want to cut it off too soon. You have to give yourself a good amount of space, a musical amount of space. But I mean, the way you release the note is important. You want the note to sort of fade away very quickly. You don't want it to be an abrupt stop, right? You know, you want to round out that ending just a little bit. You know, you kind of hear how there's a little bit of a tail. You take a little bit of time and you let it fade. And the best way to get this sound is to listen to, you know, fantastic musicians play ballads. I can't give you any examples here because YouTube will kick me off and ban the video, but listen to Phil Smith play a ballad and listen to him release a note. You can listen to, you know, anybody. I mean, Håkan Hardenberger, Alison Balsam. There are so many, Sergei Nakarkov. Listen to good professional trumpet players play a classical piece of music, a ballad, a slow piece of music, and listen to the way that they release a note. And for that matter, while you're there, check out what the vibrato on their notes should sound like. Now, me playing on this awful microphone, you're not going to get a good, clear example. You know, these people are using like $200+ microphones to really capture the nuance, and they've been doing it. I mean, you want to listen to somebody who's just cream of the crop when it comes to trumpet playing. So check out Phil Smith, Håkan Hardenberger. Check out Alison Balsam, has a great sound. There's so many of them. Maurice Andre is fantastic. Listen to their releases, listen to their articulations, listen to their vibrato. I mean, that's on a ballad. If you're checking out some of the other etudes, listen to them play on, you know, whatever piece of music goes about the same tempo as the music you're trying to learn. Listen to that and really listen to what they do with their articulations, their releases, their vibrato, the way they play this music, and try to imitate that as best you can. You know, it's super important. Let's see. So the release, make sure that's clear. This next section, let me bring this down just a little bit. See if anybody, there we go. This next section is, again, it's not super fast. Let me see. Let's check the tempo. Here we go. So let's take a look at that section. Not super difficult, but again, we have grace notes. The grace notes have to come in before the downbeat. Again, the typical way teachers would have their students learn is take the grace notes out and learn what it sounds like. So I'm going to start on the G. Not too difficult, right? So then practice the grace notes just by themselves. And for me, I like to really think about what my fingers are doing. And so we have second valve open, first valve open. And try doing that quick. I don't know if you can hear. You want your valves to pop just a little bit when you slam those fingers down. You hear that? If you can make your fingers move that quickly, the rest is just a lip reaction to make sure, you know, make it do what you want to do. As long as you're coming in on the downbeat. Is there a fly in here? Get out of here. What the heck? I don't know what it is, but whether it's the weather or... Ha! I don't know if it's the weather, but the flies here have been ridiculous. Like, I never have flies. My cat likes to hunt them down and destroy them. You guys have a cat? I have a cat. It's not a bad cat. If you guys have a cat, it has nothing to do with Trumpet. But I could make an argument for that. If you want me to make a comparison between cats and how that has to do with Trumpet, let me know in the chat. If you don't care, well, you're obviously not a cat person. Which I'm not either, I just have one. I didn't say I like that I have one. So with your grace notes, again, think of it as a valve movement and get those notes in before the downbeat. Here's the clicker. Right? And you can do that on downbeats too. So the tempo here, 76. Find a tempo where you can get all those grace notes in. So if you have to bump it down to, here I am down at 60, right? Now, even if you're going at a slow tempo, you can spread out the grace notes or condense them as much as you need to, right? If you're having a hard time getting these fingerings down, just start a little quicker. Start a little sooner and play them a little slower. And as you get better at it, try holding off on those notes till the very end, right before the downbeat, like. See how rapidly you can play those right before the downbeat hits. Try that at different tempos. So here's back at 76. And notice what your air does. Really have, in mind what you want that to sound like, that flourish of notes. And then try it in the music. Excellent. Well, I'm assuming you're practicing along, so I'm saying excellent, not because I did so great. Or did I? It was all right. So there's the next part. Getting this counting down, sometimes it takes a little bit of studying to really figure out where all these beats are going to go. So we know that there are 6 eighth notes in every measure, right? Is there any dispute about that? No. Good. 6 eighth notes. And if you didn't know what these numbers meant before, here's a quick tutorial. If it's 4/4, that just means 4 quarter notes. 6/8 is 6 eighth notes. If it was 12/8, it would be 12 eighth notes, whatever. 3/8, 3 eighth notes. This is 6 eighth notes in every beat. And count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Because quarter notes are 2 eighth notes. Got it? So this mess, we already know that there are 6 eighth notes in this measure. Now we just got to find them. This is an eighth note. So we got 1. If you don't know what this is, that's fine. Process of elimination. 1, 2, 3. Uh-oh. So this is a 30-second note. This is a 30-second rest. Put those together, it equals an eighth note. You guessed it. You're amazing. Don't click on it. Come on. Scott, come on. So there's 4 eighth notes in this measure. This fly is just driving me crazy. No, Juan. This is Scott himself. Get it right. So here we go. I'm just kidding. Hi, Juan. So we got 1. Ha! We got 1. That's hilarious. No, I'm just kidding. We got 1. We also have 1. Hi, Juan. Here, I'll highlight. 1. That's hilarious. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 eighth notes. And so by process of elimination, this makes, right here, this is our 5th, 8th note. This all has to happen in one beat. And so this also has to happen in one beat. This whole big 6-tuplet mess of notes. One beat. These 4 notes, this happens in one beat. So to help yourselves out with this, you're all on highlight. There. You don't have to feel so singled out. So the first one we're going to do is these 4 notes. So this is a beat. Let me know if you can't hear the metronome. I can hear it. I think it's pretty loud, obvious. If you can't, turn the volume up. The way we subdivide this, we have to play all 4 notes in one beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And so right there, that's what you practice. And then I'm playing the D for the downbeat, because D is the first letter in downbeat. Okay, does that make sense? 4 notes, downbeat. If that's too fast for you, it's okay. Slow her down. No problem. Bring this down to, here's 60 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is. Now I have another student who has a lot of trouble with slurring intervals. 2 suggestions for that student and anybody and everybody else like him. 1, work on slurred harmonics. By harmonics, I mean the same fingering but different notes. So if I play with no fingerings, all open notes, those are your open note harmonic series. Okay? Practice slurring up the harmonic series. Get good at slurring your harmonics. Now, after you're really good at that, try practicing slurring intervals. Take, for example, your concert F scale starts on a G. Play the first 2 notes slurred. Play the first and 3rd note slurred. Play the first and 4th note, hi that guy. Play the first and the 5th note slurred. Until you surpass the interval that you're trying to learn how to play. Good to see you. I'm glad you could join. Maybe you'll learn something. Maybe I already taught it to you, because I know you take lessons. Matter of fact, we should set something up for this week. So then, you practice those intervals. Actually, I did that. I had this one student who accused me, of all people, of playing this section way too fast. You know? I couldn't believe it. He said, this person, I'm not going to tell you who it was. I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to tell you who it was. He said, oh, should I tell you who I am? Everybody knows who I am. Mr. Luch, you played it way too fast. Well, okay. So here's the metronome. And I think it depends on the tempo that you take. But check it out. If you can hear the metronome clicking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you subdivide that. Get good at subdividing into 4. All right? Now, that takes care of this. Here's the next big mess. You have 6 notes in one beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can't even hardly say it. At 76 beats per minute. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. Now you have to play that fast. If you can't play that fast today, this second, that's fine. Slow the metronome down here to 60 beats per minute. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. If that's too fast, it's fine. Slow it down to whatever tempo you can do it. I have another suggestion coming up next. But before I tell you that, here's 6 notes at 60 beats per minute. Whatever tempo you can handle it, play it. And if you do it like me, to get plenty of repetitions, to get lots of reps in, I like to practice like this. I take a big breath and I repeat it. I loop that section as many times as I can in one breath at the tempo I'm trying to play. I'll go back and see how long I did that later. So there's your 6 notes. That was only at 60 beats per minute. Let's jump up to 76. That's what the music says. Now I understand that there's a range of tempos that you can use for the competition. That's fine. The range is from 70 to 80. So this is a little bit just about in the middle. Here we go. And now putting this all into context. Now again, why no face cam? Because most of you guys see me enough the way it is. Thank you, this helped. Is it possible for me to find this video elsewhere after the stream is done? Yeah, I have an audition for college next Wednesday, so I appreciate the advice. Absolutely. This will be posted, this will be posted about 15, 20 minutes after this is over. Thank you. Amare? How do you say your name? I have no idea. Anyway, that guy, you, people see me all the time. If you miss my face, play a different video, turn the sound down, and then put this one up so you can see it. Then it'll look like the same thing. Anyway, because I'm not vain. Yeah, does that help? Just check the channel when I'm done. It'll be there. Good luck on your audition. Where was I at? Okay, so practice rhythms. So I talked earlier about practice rhythms, right? So if you have a big, fast section like this, and you need to learn all these notes, go back to the practice rhythms I was telling you about. Here's a quick review of the practice rhythms. I'm going to take this whole fast section that I need to I desperately need to get it under my fingers because it's way too difficult, let's say. I'm going to start by pairing these notes together. Good night, and you're welcome. Good night. Using that short 2-letter lingo. Very good. Okay, so practice rhythms. The first way to start. I'm going to play from here to there. Okay, so there's pairing the notes together. We're doing this in small chunks. Now I'm going to start by pairing the second to the third note, just to fill in the gaps, right? And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 notes at a time, triplets. Ha! All right, I'm going to do 3 notes starting on the second note. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to do 3 notes starting on the third note. And again, you can do these slower. In fact, if you're really having trouble, I'm just doing it sort of to get through it. time-wise. But literally, you could do it like this. Right? Take your time in between those chunks of notes that you're playing. So here's 4 notes. I'll give you an example. Right? So give yourself time to digest what you've just done. Hold that note out. Take some time to stare at the next group of 4 notes that you need to play, and then execute it, and then do the same thing. Here's 4 notes starting on the second note. And again, I might have taken that faster than if I was just learning this for the first time. I might have taken it slightly slower. Here's the third note. And then just finish the phrase, that's fine. And then on the fourth note, I'll take 4 notes. And then I'll do 5 notes. Now, if you find that one of these are more difficult than the other, take that one and just rehearse it over and over and over until it becomes comfortable, right? Because what this also does is it picks out a disconnected, reconnecting. You better reconnect. I don't know if you can hear that. Here we go. So going through there, we already talked about trills, we talked about grace notes, we talked about how you can separate it, take out the trills, take out the grace notes. That's the most common thing that's taught. You can, what else we have in there? This is just a harmonic series with an E in the middle. There's a big crescendo. When you're crescendoing, the thing I noticed most about younger players, I hope this is back up. Yeah, that looks fine. I'm making sure I'm not pulled down. Alright. So the most common thing with younger players is as you're going higher, you tend to tense up, especially in the neck and throat area. And so you have a hard time getting a bigger, bolder sound. All that tension just starts to shut off your sound, and then you're left with a tiny pinch sound and cracked notes. So really focus on, and you can check out some of the other videos I talk about this, starting with a sigh, trying to play as relaxed and as open as you possibly can. You can check out the other video, but for now, so that rhythm's a little funny looking. And by the way, when I'm playing through here, I don't mind cracking notes. This is a practice session. It's not always going to be perfect, you know. And there's this stigma among trumpet players that, I don't know, you play a wrong note, you goof up. There's sort of this shame factor that comes into play. Everybody looks down on and makes fun of somebody when they crack or play a wrong note. The fact is, if you're playing the trumpet, you're going to crack a note. You're going to screw up. You're going to play wrong notes, and you're going to do it all the time. I mean, that's just part of playing a trumpet. You're playing a loud upper register instrument. So just get used to playing wrong notes and cracking. and being made fun of, and that's just part of the deal. Kind of learn to develop a thick skin about that. You're going to hear me mess up, and I do that partly because I mess up sometimes. I mean, the best players mess up. I'm not the best player, but everybody makes mistakes. I want you guys to hear sort of a raw, uncut video of what practicing looks like, what a real trumpet player can sound like when he's practicing, and don't be afraid to play wrong notes sometimes. In a performance, you might play wrong notes. Let all your good notes do the talking, and if you crack a note here or there, the biggest problem with younger players or even older players, getting stage fright, being so paralyzed about playing because they might screw up, they might make a mistake. Don't worry about that. Don't give yourself unnecessary stress. You're going to screw up. You're going to just get used to it and be okay with it. Because you might play something that sounds really goofy, but try to make up for it by playing everything else really, really nice, and don't get so stressed out about a couple of notes. Because everybody makes mistakes. We're human. We're supposed to make mistakes. We're not robots. And as much as Sony and Disney and everybody else wants to make robots out of everybody, I mean, you guys see the video of, I think it's in Japan or China or something. They have a robot playing the trumpet. He doesn't play a single wrong note. But I would much rather listen to anybody play the trumpet than that. It's just more interesting. And it's more interesting if people screw up. It gives you, if everything sounded perfect all the time, you wouldn't be in such awe when something is played perfect, When hearing Flight of the Bumblebee, you're sort of on the edge of your seat because he might mess up somewhere. And a lot of times somebody does. And that's exciting. Anyway, so this measure is, if you look at it a little bit, a lot of people screw up this rhythm, but it's pretty simple. Quarter note, quarter note, quarter note. Oh, I'm sorry, wow. Eighth note, eighth note, eighth note, another eighth note. This has 2 flags. It's a 16th note and has a dot. Dotted 16th note to a 32nd note, 1, 2, 3. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighth notes. So this all has to fit in one count. And that last note is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighth notes long. So you end on the 6th eighth note. Make sense? Oh, good, I didn't miss anybody. What else was I going to say? Rhythmically, that's all a thing. Oh, when you're going up to that big, loud moment, make a big deal out of, start crescendoing early. Set yourself up for that. Start crescendoing, especially here, C, and that B, and then really make a big moment out of that A, and then the higher A. Play your music the way it sounds. Interpret music as if you were an artist trying to make this song sound as good as it can possibly get, because what you're doing here is you're trying to be an artist, and you're trying to play this as good as you possibly can. Duh. But I say that half jokingly, but people forget that they're pretending to be, you're striving to be a musician when you're playing this stuff. An artist, you're trying to make this sound pretty. So when you see a dynamic like this, it says piano. So naturally, all of my, especially younger students, they want to play all this to hear soft. And it sounds flat, you know? There's no expression in it at all. Even if they put some vibrato in there, there's just no, it doesn't move. There's no expression. So if this is you, and I highly recommend that all you guys just go out there and record yourselves. You really need to listen to yourselves play. I do it here. I try to record a lot of my practice sessions so that I can hear myself play. I get that instant feedback. I get the feedback of all 10 of you listening, even though most of you guys are probably a younger crowd anyway. Whatever. I have, what was I going to say? So that feedback is good. It's still going. You got to give yourself that feedback. You got to listen to recordings of yourself. Even if they're bad recordings, you need to know what you sound like. It just sounds different. Like you might not even like the way you sound on a recording. And that's all the more reason to do it, because you need to get to a point where you do like your sound. You got to keep adjusting until you like the way you play. And you don't give yourself a realistic idea of what you sound like unless you listen to yourself. So record yourselves. It can be an audio recording, a video recording. Even when I did video recordings, I saw that I sort of danced to the music, or I nodded, or I swayed as I played. I'm not trying to rhyme all this stuff. It comes out that way. Anyway, there I go again. So I try to cut that out. So now when I play, because I thought I looked goofy, I try to play when I hold still. I have a recording of me playing a gig I did. Oh shoot, I guess it's been a couple months. And I'm playing I Remember Clifford. And that one I didn't move around too much, and I wasn't thinking about it, but I think I sway more with slower classical songs, jazz ballads. I don't know. But record yourself and be critical of yourself. You know, don't be critical, like don't get mad at yourself. Just watch yourself play, see what you sound like, and make yourself adjust until you sound like what you want to sound like. So anyway, piano. This whole thing isn't soft because that's annoying sounding. Be an artist, and general rule of thumb, as you go up, get louder. As you go down, get softer. General rule of thumb. Let me grab the metronome so I have an idea of how fast. All right, here we go. And then I build again. So I like making big moments out of longer notes. I like doing something with them because they get boring otherwise. And then move on. So I tend to play just a little bit bigger and bolder, but there are times where I'll play softer. Let me see. What would be a good example of like a decrescendo? I don't know, a lot of this stuff builds. Let me see. How about, and the other thing is, you can make this sound like whatever you want it to sound like, but you know, make your dynamics move. So there I went louder, and then I got softer at the end. You know, there's no right or wrong way to play. There's sort of a tradition in music that you want to sort of keep in mind. like I said, when you go up a line, generally the tradition is to get louder. As you go down the line, generally the tradition is to get softer. But as you're coming to the end of a phrase, a lot of times we decrescendo to finish a phrase. It just sort of depends. And it kind of depends on what your lips can handle. If you can handle a good long decrescendo and you can play really, really soft, beautiful notes, exploit that as much as you can. If you have a trouble playing soft, I recommend playing soft tones because it's going to make your sound better. Watch the last live stream, I talk about this, or maybe the one before that. But playing soft gives you just the most gorgeous sound. Highly recommend it. This is saying that I'm offline. Let me see. No, it looks like I'm still going. My voice sounds really weird. That's all right. Cool. Okay. So another example. Let me see what I would do. So here, I might go a little bit louder than I did over here, just to build. We're going up the line, build. Da 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 dee da dum. I could see this going either way. Maybe you build to a really loud volume and then you decrescendo to the end of the phrase. And then you start nice and soft and build again. I could see that. Or maybe you crescendo up this line and then decrescendo on this one note and come in softly. You know, there's so many different things that you can do that sound good. Just don't do the things that make you sound bad. And why would you? Of course, you're not going to do it on purpose, but this is why you want the feedback of one, a competent, hopefully band director, a competent, did I say confident or competent? I meant competent. Somebody that knows what they're talking about. A band director, a lesson teacher. You can get feedback from anybody that knows what they're talking about. And when you're preparing for an audition, try to do practice auditions with people that you trust their opinion about the music that you're going to play. So if you're going to audition and you're going to do this etude, you want to find, like a lot of people if you can, band directors, lesson teachers. It doesn't have to be your own instrument. Try to find people that you can play in front of to get their feedback. There's a lot of college professors, especially as they sort of go around trying to get people to join their program. They'll hold clinics, and you can go watch them. I don't know if it costs anything. Sometimes it might. And if you go up there, you can get a private lesson from them, or you can get their feedback on how you sound. And I think that's super important, because one, you want that information. You want to know what you sound like in the eyes of a professional person, and you want to also play in front of somebody. Put yourself in situations that make you uncomfortable to play. Put yourself in situations that make you scared or nervous, and get through playing in front of that. Do that as much as you can. Get used to playing in front of people. That'll take care of any stage fright issues you have. I mean, the only thing that, and I used to shake terribly when I was auditioning. I was just so nervous, especially as a sophomore and a freshman. The first audition of the year was just super frightening for me. And I had a really hard time playing. But by my sophomore year, I was auditioning all the time. I feel like I was doing an audition every month or more. And I just got used to it. When I was playing at SeaWorld, I would play, I think we did 5 shows a day. And I think I was nervous the first week, but after you do, I don't know, 25 shows or less or more, that 100th show that you do, you're not nervous anymore. So put yourself in situations where you need to play and you're nervous. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations that you have to play music during, that you have to be expressive during. Playing in front of your band directors, in front of teachers, in front of family members, your pets. Try auditioning in front of these people. Try classmates. Recording yourself sort of puts a different kind of pressure on you also, because you're aware that you want to sound good on the recording. So it's sort of like auditioning, but only you listen to it. So record yourself and get that feedback too. But that's sort of those are some techniques that I would use when I'm practicing a piece like this. Just kind of to recap, break up different segments that are difficult into its own exercise routine. I talked about playing octaves from low C all the way up to whatever you need, whatever range you need. I talked about practice rhythms, getting through more technical sections where your fingers need to just flow. I talked about, what else did I talk about? I talked about trills. I talked about grace notes. I talked about, how to execute a trill, different practice techniques for working on your trills and your grace notes and making it fit rhythmically. I talked about musicality. I talked about listening to professional musicians. I talked about dynamics, putting your own dynamics in the piece, putting your own artistry into the piece, and trying those things out in your auditions in front of musical people that you trust, their opinion. What else? The only thing I didn't talk about is possible. I might bring that up another time. But for now, the only thing I would say, get this, if you have the notes down, if you have the rhythms down, if you have the articulations down, that's most of the music. But getting that down, gets you about halfway. The musicality is where you got to get to. You got to get to the point where you're playing musically as fast as you can, because you got to get to the point where you're practicing expression and expressing, dynamics, articulations, vibrato. You got to put the musical qualities in there as fast as you possibly can and get to where you can do it comfortably and effectively in front of other people. You have to be a performer. That's what these auditions are. That's you showcasing yourself and performing in front of people, and you have to get good at that. And so if you're you might not, again, that's an example of how not to play it. You might play through there, thinking it's all piano, and you might accidentally play it all very flat, but you just might get so nervous that you are literally afraid to play expressively and take chances on your music, because you're afraid that you're going to crack a note because you're blowing more air, or because you're afraid that you're going to get a bad sound. You need to get used to playing with expression in front of people. That's important, because you might think you're doing expressive things, you might think that you're crescendoing, but you really don't. It's harder for you to tell than for somebody else to tell. So a section like that, this is a good example of something that you need to practice. Playing something that, if you choose to play dynamically more robust, a little bit bolder, and you're playing a nice big loud low note, coming in tune with a good sound on a very soft note like this could be a challenge. But if you're practicing, if you have a good warm-up, a good warm-down routine, if you're practicing your fundamentals, the things that we've talked about in other videos, if you're doing these things, you're going to have an easier time being expressive when you need to. But that's another thing to practice. Practice the dynamics, practice overdoing the dynamics so it's more effective, so you can do it in front of people, and so you don't crack a note because you try to do something that you've never practiced before. And that happens all the time. I have students, for the first time I say, play soft and then crescendo. Hey buddy, what's going on? All right, I'll see you later. Oh, my chat box got in the way. Let me see. There it is. There's another good example. So you go really, really loud here, your forte, and here you want to come in at a really soft dynamic. Again, doing that switch for your lips takes some getting used to. Especially in the middle of marching band season. Everybody's playing super loud, they're blasting their brains out, trying to, figuratively, they're just playing way too loud all the time, and you expect to go back and play something, you get done playing, as loud as you possibly can, or higher notes, or whatever you do in marching band, and then you come back and you try to play something lyrical and beautiful. Forget it. It's going to sound, to get a good sound after that. I know I've been there. For me, I used to take everything up an octave during games and bruise my lips, press way too hard, and then I would, wonder why the heck I couldn't play beautifully the next day in band, or if I had an audition the next day. These things, I don't know if I didn't think of it, because I knew that overplaying the day before would ruin my sound the next day. I think I just, at the time, I think it's just curse of the young. You're so in the moment, you don't have the forethought to think ahead, to think, well, maybe I'll have bad sound if I do this tomorrow, but maybe I'll be fine. Anyway, practice intelligently, play intelligently, warm up, warm down. Do you have any questions about anything on this piece? If you do, well, let me know. And let me know quick, because I only have I'm not going to be here much longer. Let me just go through the comment thread. It's ridiculous. Hi, I'm tired. Tired has nothing to do with Trumpet. What is this? Go to channel, report, remove. Oh, it's cool. I can report and remove people. Timeout. I wonder if that's worth it. What about this? Huh. I've never had to put anybody in timeout before. What is that like? If any of you guys know, let me know. Put user in timeout. That's great. Maybe later. Alright, so everybody, thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching. If you have any other questions, well, you just lost your shot. Because I'm done. I'll see you guys later. As soon as I figure out how to stop this stream, which I don't think I know how to do. I might be on here forever. What do I just click? Let me see. Da, 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 da. Can't do that. End stream. Oh, that's it. That's all you do. That's perfect. And I have 4 people up here. Hi, 4 people. Playbacks, concurrent viewers. Well, there's 4 people. What do you expect to see? Because if you're hanging out here, just watching and not asking questions, what are you doing there? Yeah. Oh! Basically makes them unable to comment at all. So if they're being inappropriate or anything, then you can mute them. Oh, that's great. Thanks, Zach. Can I call you Zach? I know it's a Zachary H. Just call you Zach. Good night. Thanks. All right, talk to you later. Bye. Yeah, end.